Hello. Countdown to school going back, right? So we're going to slam straight back into a bit of revision and learning a bit of new stuff with graphs. And just a reminder of why we use graphs because data in tables is boring. And it's not easy to quickly look at and know what's happening. So if you imagine that one day in the future, I've got my dream castle and I've got a whole bunch of huskies and I want to represent the colors of all my different huskies. So you can see here in my table, I've got the different colors and the number of huskies in each color that I have. So for data like this, you can use either a pie graph or a bar graph. I always prefer to do a bar graph because it's easier. So always remember in any bar graph, we're going to have our two axes. So our y-axis is going to have the number. Now you can decide on a scale, 5, 10. I'm going to use 5s. So if that's 0, we'll go 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. And that is our number of dogs. And then in a bar graph, we're going to do bars. So we've got 25 grey and white huskies. Kind of 25, draw a bar. And that is grey and white. Red and white, 10. So it's 10. Go. Reds and whites. And our last one is pure white, 5. Now, if you were being real fancy, you could have a little maybe color coding thing over here. Like you could be like red is equal to red or whatever. But we just like this. So see how it's really easy to see. Quick glance, I know that the most is this color. And we're looking at different things. And then, of course, because you're going to get full marks to make sure that your graph is correct, you label both your axes. So number of dogs and colors of dogs. And you give it a title. So colors of huskies at Jenny's farm. Woo! Now, pie graphs. There has never really been a situation in my life where I've chosen a pie graph as my first and favorite graph, mainly because it involves an extra step. But given that you're probably going to get tested on it and because it's good to know, we're going to do it. And also it's a good way to remember our percentages. So, going back to our data again, the first thing, talking about a pie graph to start with. So we know that a pie graph is going to be a circle, like a pie. And if you can remember that in a circle, we always have 360 degrees. How do we convert this information into pie graphs? Now, first of all, we're going to add up the total number of dogs. So 25, 35, 40. So we've got 40 in total. So, when you think of, if we were going to work out a percentage, we would do 25 divided by 40. And that gives us 0.625. Now, if we were going to convert that to a percentage, do you remember how we times by 100? Because percent is by hundreds. But because we're wanting to work it out as a proportion of the pie graph, which is 360, we're going to times it by 360, okay? To tell us how many degrees. And look, I wrote this out earlier, but you can pop it in your calculator, but you're going to have to trust me, it's 225 degrees, okay? And then we had 5 pure white huskies. So again, 5 of the huskies out of the 40 are pure white. That is 0.125. If we're doing that as a percentage, we'd times it by 100. So 10, 100, it'd be 12%. But because we're working out how much of a circle it is, we're timesing by 360 degrees. And again, you're going to have to trust me that it's 45 degrees. And our last amount of 10 over 40, which is 0.25, 25%. But we're timesing by 360, so it's equal to 90 degrees. Now, if you wanted to double check that your calculations are correct, if you add these all together, it should come up to 360 degrees. So now, going back to our graph. So, if you can remember what 90 degrees looks like, you'll be using your protractor, that's 90 degrees. And we know that 90 degrees is, that was our red, white huskies. Getting your protractor again, and don't forget you'd set it on, you need to set your protractor on a line. So you might like set it here. That would be 45 degrees. So that'd be our white. And then you'd want to measure this one here and make sure that it was 225 degrees. That would be our gray and white. But because we're making our pie chart pretty, is we have a little like legend over here. It's for the red and white. So you color it in, gray and white, color that in. Anyway, and that's your pie chart. So again, nice and easy to see. Again, I would always go a bar graph over a pie chart. But what a beautiful chance to reflect on percentages and circles and graphs. And this is another, I think that's actually a good example of why maths is really hard if you get behind. Because to do the pie chart, on the face of it, you think pie charts are pretty easy. But you've actually just had to work out like percentages and know about circles and lots of stuff. But bam, now you can do it. Genius. Dogs agree.